Hello and welcome to the SAP Analytics Partners Series, Episode 3. For SAP, partners play a pivotal role in driving customer success. From the moment customers identify their needs to the successful adoption of SAP software solutions to value realization. So this is a series where we bring to you our partners to talk about their latest innovations. So more in the analytics space. I'm Selendras and you're watching this simulcast live on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I hope you're safe and maintaining social distancing still wherever you are, as it is very, very important for our health. If you hear me, then please press the thumbs up. And also tell us which part of the world are you watching us. So tell us which country, which city you're watching us from in the comment section, and that'll be great. Also, if you've got any questions, please put those questions in the comment section and I will take those questions in the audience Q&A section. Okay. For you to view this episode and other episodes that are run on emerging technologies, please follow me. If you're watching this on LinkedIn, please press the follow button. If you're watching this on YouTube, press the subscribe button and the bell icon. If you're watching this on Twitter, then please press the follow button. If you're watching this on Facebook though, please press like and share not only with your network, but also on other groups which are analytics focused groups. So please press the valid buttons that you're watching in. It'll be really, really helpful for us to get much more visibility. Now let's talk about live data connections. They're a lot like flying first class. Once you get the experience right. It's hard to go back to the coach again and again. So you have to get it absolutely right, and it's like flying first class flights. SAP Analytics Cloud connects live to SAP S/4HANA, which means that any changes made to your data in the source are reflected immediately into the SAP Analytics Cloud. The benefit of connecting your data this way is that the data remains in the source systems, so you're not transferring large amounts of data. Any existing models you have can be used directly by SAP Analytics Cloud to build stories for visualization and analysis without replicating the data. And that's really, really beneficial. So you've got to have live connection. One organization that really focuses on live connections is APOS Systems. And today we've got two guests from APOS Systems, Allan Pym and Alan Golding. APOS is a long-time SAP partner focused on solutions for SAP BI and analytics technologies. While they have global customer base, APOS is based in Canada and is in Toronto region in Canada. Both Alan and Alan are joining us from Toronto for a session. So let's talk about our first guest. Allan Pym is the Chief Operating Officer for APOS. Alan, let me bring in Alan into the show. So here we go. Drum rolls. Hi, Alan.
Hi, Selendras. Nice to be with you here.
Welcome to this show, and I'm really grateful to you that you're up at this hour of the day because it is looks like it's 10:30, 11 o'clock for you in the night.
It's later, but we're happy to be here.
Good stuff. Thank you. So, Alan, tell us about your background. Where do you come from? And basically introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, by all means. So yeah, my role with APOS is Chief Operating Officer, as you mentioned. I've been at this quite a while, a little over 20 years, so about 23 years that I've been with APOS. Started out in an early role where it was focused on account management and selling consulting and training services. And I guess that's led to my current role, where I oversee the customer-focused and customer-facing topics, sales, marketing, and solution consulting, as well as into the administrative side and business side of the organization. So I've been at that about 12 years, and yeah, so it's a great way to be able to interact with lots of customers and hear about lots of the great things that they're doing with analytics.
Okay. Now let's turn to the other Alan in the show. Alan Golding. Alan's role is Manager of Solution Consulting at APOS. Alan, let's bring in Alan Golding. Hi, Alan.
Hi, Selendras. Great to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Thank you. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good, thanks. How about yourself?
Very good. It's late for you, isn't it?
It's a bit late, but not too bad. We're very happy to be here.
Good. Just to differentiate, so I can't be doing Alan and Alan. So what do I do?
That's right. So yeah, we have two Allans. So Allan Pym is going to keep his name Alan with two L's, and I have a nickname called Goldie because my surname is Golding. So feel free to call me Goldie throughout.
Okay, so I'll call you Goldie. But before I go further, please give us some background about yourself. You know, what do you do and what's your role like?
Yeah, certainly. So I'm on more of the technical side, solution consulting manager for APOS. So I head up the technical pre-sales team. So I engage with customers in technical discussions just to listen and understand what their needs are, what they're looking to accomplish, and then try to align that with the technical solutions that we have at APOS so that we can hopefully form a relationship and get them to where they need to be in their transition into SAC.
Okay. Let me get to Alan with double L. So Alan, though many of the people on the call in the audience would know what APOS is, but give us a brief understanding of what APOS is and what you guys have been doing so far. So tell us about your journey.
Yeah. So I guess our journey in all of this goes back into the 1990s. So the company was formed in 92, but it was probably mid-90s when we started to work in, at that time, what was called enterprise reporting. And that we were partnering at that point in time with Crystal Decisions, and even before that, Seagate Software. So for those on the line that can go back to those days, you'll know that that's quite a while ago. It's interesting. We used to give presentations at the time where we were introducing the topics at seminars and things, and we'd be talking about enterprise reporting, and people would know what you were talking about. And then we started to introduce this term of, does anyone know what business intelligence is? And show of hands, people would sort of gradually put up their hand. I think some of them knew what they were talking about. Some of them were just kind of putting their hand up because they didn't want to seem like they didn't know what they're talking about. But anyways, that sort of positions how long things we've been at this. Anyways, we started building enhancement solutions for the Crystal Decisions platform at the time, which then became the Business Objects platform, which then became the SAP Business Objects platform. So we've been building enhancement solutions for that platform for a very long time. And here in more recent years, we have been putting a lot of effort and energy into enhancement solutions for the SAP Analytics Cloud solution. So lots of great work on all of those areas.
I must say one thing, that reminds me of Excelsius. Does that ring a bell?
Of course.
Yeah.
So once upon a time, and I'll tell you my personal story on this. Once upon a time, I used to work for a large retailer, and Excelsius was introduced to me, and I actually loved it. In fact, I created a lot of dashboards at the time because it could sit on the Adobe Air platform, and you didn't even need to have anything else. It was standalone dashboards and stuff. It was quite interesting. Did you build a few things on that as well?
Well, we certainly have been around the Excelsius world for quite some time, and our solutions do have some integration with that. But yeah, I guess the end of this year marks a big turn for Excelsius. So perhaps you'll shed a tear on December 31st.
Will do. Okay. So, Alan, you've spent over 20 years with APOS. That's a long time. So what do you think has changed over the years? Like, what was APOS or technology world in 20 years ago, and how has it moved on up until now?
Yeah, so I think, as I talked through those different technology and corporate evolutions during that time, obviously there's been a lot of change. But if we think about the technology side of things, from that term of enterprise reporting to business intelligence to analytics to advanced analytics, well, the spectrum of change there is quite dramatic. Now, at the heart, it's still people needing actionable information at the right times, in the right ways. So the core of it remains the same, but when you think about the quality and the level of competence that these different analytics solutions can bring, and the content that's being delivered, that of course would be the big change. But at the core, so much remains the same, though.
So I remember, well, what I think, I've been doing this for 20, 25 years now, and what I've seen that changed is it was data to information to knowledge, and now people talk about wisdom. So things have dramatically changed in that ways on how you're interacting with your customers and how you're utilizing data as you solve business problems. And I think that's a fair way of explaining it as well. And you're right, things have changed significantly. So APOS itself, how has it grown over the last 20 years or so? How big is the organization?
Yeah, so we remain a small focused organization, and we bring very niche technologies to fit very specific needs. And so, we're very proud of what we accomplish in our team. So most of our team is based, in fact, all of our team is based here in Canada, but we work with organizations globally, and it works very well. The whole COVID situation is, of course, impacted everyone. For us, it may have impacted us a little less because we have been working in a very remote selling and distance selling mode for 15 years. Mm-hmm. So the structure change to having to not be in-person meetings, frankly, that's something we've been doing for a very long time. Lots of work with customers in assisting them remotely, presentations remotely, proof of concepts remotely. So, lots of impacts in many ways, but the way that we've gone about our business in the last 8 months has maybe had less change than some others.
Okay, before we get to the next question, I asked this question around where are people watching us from. So let's very quickly have a look. There is Francis Xavier. Good morning, Selendras. Hi, Francis. How are you? Soman has joined us from Jamshedpur in India. Francis from Bangalore. Dushyant Tyagi from Hyderabad, and I know him personally. Praful Palli on LinkedIn from India as well. There is Vignesh from Sierra Digital, and he is from Coimbatore in Tamil Nadu. So we've got a few people joining us. Good stuff. Thank you, guys. Let's get back to our questions. And so, guys, if you've got a question as you're hearing our guests, please put that in the comment section, and I'll definitely take those questions. Okay. Let me move to Goldie. Goldie, think about this. The organization has moved on for the past 20 years, and it's transitioned a lot. So what has changed in the offerings and the solutions that you have? What new offerings and solutions do you have these days that you offer for your customers?
Yeah, certainly. So when I started 7 years ago, it was a primary focus of business objects. So you had, XR2, 3.1, 4.0, and so on. So with business objects, we have a range of solutions that help out with things like auditing and monitoring, change management, automation of administrative tasks, system and content backup and archiving, bursting and distribution, automated report testing. So quite a range of different areas where APOS can help out with business objects. Mm-hmm. As I grew with APOS, SAP grew their platform as well. So with Analytics Cloud coming out onto the market, APOS started to build out solutions for that. So we have solutions now for SAP Analytics Cloud customers that help out with things like expanded data connectivity, bursting and distribution, monitoring and auditing, and report testing and change management controls as well for Analytics Cloud. Now, as both of those platforms are growing, it also brings up the concept of hybrid BI. So where customers are going into, well, we have invested a lot of time and energy and money into business objects over the past number of years. We want to take advantage of SAP Analytics Cloud, but we're unsure what that looks like, how we get there. So we have a range of solutions that help out with hybrid BI as well.
So explain more in details about hybrid BI. Is it having data on the cloud and on-prem? Is that something like that? What is it all about?
Yeah, so there's a number of different facets there because you have a lot of assets within your business object environment. So let's just talk about, for example, reports. So or and business object universes. So you have a lot of business questions, and your business object platform is answering a lot of those questions. How I transition the modeling into SAC Analytics Cloud? How do I identify what content I should create in Analytics Cloud based on what I'm using in business objects? So, for example, we have solutions to help customers, first of all, identify what relevant content they have, what relevant users they have in business objects, and then take that information so that that can drive their need for what they need to create in Analytics Cloud. Similarly, as well, we have mechanisms in business objects. There is a huge need for publications and scheduling. So we have customers that have a lot of publications and schedules and instances, and they want to understand, what is the most relevant schedules and instances to be used right now, how they can accomplish that in business objects, whether it's with the native scheduling in SAP Analytics Cloud or with third-party tools as well.
Okay. Did you want to share something on slides? If you like, I can share that up now.
Yeah, we can share them a little later on. So we'll get into some discussions about Live Data Gateway with how the live connectivity works, but certainly we can show some of that later on for the customers.
Okay, thank you. So extending, the word extending we've used in the title as well. So I would like to understand, some more specific details about it. So extending data connectivity for SAC, and how does that work? Alan, do you want to explain that more in details?
Yeah, and you actually gave a great introduction about the importance of live connectivity earlier on. So within Analytics Cloud, you essentially have two different ways that you can connect to data. And of course, Analytics Cloud's a cloud-based platform, so where the data exists is quite important. The import connection would be one type of data connection, and that's where you can pull data from whatever the location is where your data is sitting, and you can pull that data up into the Analytics Cloud data environment. And then the analytics engine that's in Analytics Cloud can then perform its processes against that data that's stored locally. So that's very important because some of the BI capabilities are quite useful there, but also into the planning capabilities of Analytics Cloud. That import connection is quite important to be able to do that. On the other hand, there is the live connection, and you mentioned that, and essentially the comparison to import is that with a live connection, you're not having to move data. So you're connecting to those data assets where they reside today, leveraging them from exactly where they sit, leveraging the model, leveraging the security model. The data is always as current as it is in the source system because that's where it's coming from. And data not leaving the firewall, that's for lots of organizations a nice to have. For many organizations, that's a must have. So it depends on the nature of the industry that the company's working in. But those two key data connection differences are really at the core. So when we started working with Analytics Cloud, we got a very early look at the solution. And one of the things that it stood out to us is that SAP's focus needs to be, rightfully so, needs to be on establishing live connections to their data assets. So BW, HANA, and those other core environments. And so it seemed to us that there was going to be strong importance for being able to connect to non-SAP data assets. So for us, that is exactly what we've done. Is we have a solution called Live Data Gateway, and it provides live data connection from Analytics Cloud to non-SAP assets that range from relational sources to OLAP sources to Hadoop sources to cloud data sources. So the Oracles and SQLs and those very common relational sources, to the Google BigQueries and Snowflakes and Redshifts and Azure and essentially everything in between. So we have a pretty long list of supported data sources that you can have that live connection with. And we also have a standard JDBC connectivity, which means that anything that has a JDBC driver to it, we can establish a live connection. So we believe that we open up a very big range of opportunities for expanded analytics.
That's very, very interesting because, well, I've been on the client side and I understand the importance of accessing various data sources, because one client does not have only one data source. They've got multiple different data sources, and ODBC and JDBC play an important role in connecting that information. And at SAP, we would like people to connect to all the sources that are available so they can bring that all information in one place and do visualizations on that. So this becomes quite important and interesting as we look forward. Okay, so any use case, any use case that you want to share with the audience, any scenarios that you've seen in the recent past which have been very successful, or you think, would you like to share?
Yeah, sure. So as you said, the amount of data sources is almost unlimited. I think about 122 is the highest number of data sources that any customer has reported to us. And I bet there's people on the line who can say that my organization has more than that. But that's a lot of different sources. Now, I'm not saying we can support all of those, but I bet we can hit most of them. Excuse me. So one of our customers, W.R. Grace, it's an American-based specialty chemicals company. They have established our solution to work in the midst of the rest of their SAP rollout, their HANA environment, etc. And they have Google BigQuery that is running and housing some important data for them. So some of that specific data they're utilizing to fit into, well, one of their primary examples out of the gate here is a month-end financial close process that had several days of manual data preparation work each and every month that was required for that financial close. So now the data, because we're able to access it live and there's some automation that happens in the midst of that, the data is ready almost as soon as they want to make use of that. So it's really sped up their financial close process. That's going to be the biggest win. But also just the fact that the teams that were involved in this data preparation effort, they can now focus on higher value tasks. So it's actually meant some great payoffs. So that was going against Google BigQuery. We're in the midst of an important rollout now with a global food processing company, provision company, and they're connecting with Azure and actually a data visualization there called the Nodo. We work with right now with a large semiconductor company who's connecting to Microsoft Analysis Services and bringing that into their list. So there's lots of examples we could give. Those are a few to start.
Very interesting. Now the importance of this becomes even for me becomes more important, because I remember I was talking, as I said, I was working for a large retailer here in Australia, and getting data available, as you mentioned, on a particular day was so important. As you said, the financial systems and the data was available right near real time, if it is not real time. We had a lag of 2 days because the amount of data that needed to be processed before it could be available for people to get analysis and reports was quite a lot to get through. And I think this makes a huge difference when you get a live connectivity and everything gets updated, possibly trickle fed or getting updated in near real time. I think that's a huge difference. But Goldie, can you bring that? Can you open that up and explain that in more details for our audience?
Yeah, certainly. So, SAP Analytics Cloud has some built-in native live connectivity to, as you mentioned, S4HANA, BW for HANA, etc. So, when we're offering these different types of data sources for live connectivity, the question's often asked, how are you doing it? So I do have a couple of slides here just to show you from an architecture diagram perspective as to how we're doing this. So this is just a straightforward architecture diagram of how Live Data Gateway is deployed. So we have a Windows-based server that gets installed within the customer's network, whether that's on-premise or in the cloud. It's totally up to the customer. This server becomes the mechanism that allows us to establish the live connection. So what you see in the bottom left is an Analytics Cloud user logged into a laptop or a workstation, and they want to log into SAP Analytics Cloud and look at a story or build a model. So a report request goes out to Analytics Cloud from that user's workstation. Now, at the same time, when it's a live connectivity scenario, a data request happens at the same time out to APOS Live Data Gateway. And this is done using CORS technology, so cross-origin resource sharing. This is the same browser-based technology that SAP used for their live HANA connection. So this is an encrypted connection. Now, once that data request is sent, the Live Data Gateway service simply streams the query from the user's browser to the data sources that you're connecting to, whether they're on-premise or in the cloud or application-based data sources. So the queries actually get executed on the data backend. Once it's executed, then the results of that query get streamed back through Live Data Gateway back to the user's browser. So that's what happens, and that's how we establish that live connectivity. So we have the SAC metadata of the presentation layer of the story, so the charts, the graphs, the tables, that gets presented back to the user's browser, and then at the same time, the results of that query gets presented to them in the browser as well. So that's essentially on a high-level basis how the live connectivity works.
Interesting. Let's talk about this. How does that compare to the live connection that we provide as an SAP provides, especially to HANA? Is there a difference between the two, or is it the same, or is it it's complementing on top of it?
Yeah, great question. So SAP Analytics Cloud actually treats APOS Live Connection the very same way as it does the Live HANA connection. So they're very much aligned into how they're set up, how they're encrypted and secured as a connection. So they're very much aligned within Analytics Cloud's Live HANA connection.
And what about security? How secure it is?
Yeah, so we have a lot of different options for security. In the world of connections to databases, security is hugely important. So with Live Data Gateway, we have a number of options, from things like caching users, where we can predefine a service user account so that in Analytics Cloud, end users do not have to worry about entering credentials. But we also have things like SAML single sign-on support as well. And there's a couple of options in between there, but we do offer various ways in how customers can securely access the connection and the data through Live Data Gateway.
Performance is always critical topic for analytics solutions. You can go in, send a query, and it can go in forever. So tell us about the performance of the Live Data Gateway.
Yeah, excellent question. So with the performance of Live Data Gateway, the most important thing to understand is we're not storing data or caching data from the user browser to the backend. The queries get executed on the database. So if your database is performing optimally, you're going to see that as well within our live connections. So there's very little overhead as we're just streaming the queries. Now, I'd also just like to show you a kind of test use case scenario, because we always get asked, well, what are the performance metrics? What about a cloud data source? If I'm connecting to a database that's on premise in my environment, well, what about I'm connecting to a cloud data source? So what are the performance differences there? So I'll just show you an example here of performance testing that we did within the Live Data Gateway solution. Just bear with me a second. I think I lost that slide briefly. Okay, I should have it here now.
While you're looking for the slide, guys, if you've got a question, please put that in the comment section, and I'll take that question as we go in the audience Q&A. Also, please like and share and retweet this episode so more and more people can learn from Allan and Alan, as we say, from APOS. And they can use the information that you're being providing. So, yep, are you done, Goldie?
Yeah, I have it ready here now.
Okay, can you share it?
Yep. Okay, so you should see my screen now. Now what we're looking at here is a cloud data source called Snowflake. And if you look to the bottom right-hand side, I've highlighted the amount of records that we're connecting to. So this is actually a data set that's over 1.3 billion records. So quite a sizable, yeah, it's quite a sizable data set, especially in a cloud environment. Now, this is the server where APOS is installed. So this is within the network of your environment in your organization. And what we're doing here is just going through a couple of screens showing you how we connect, what the connection looks like. As you mentioned before, Selendra, we use a JDBC driver in this case, so that's quite critical to the connection. So now we've established the connection. Now we're in Analytics Cloud, and we're looking at a story that I built based off of this Snowflake cloud data source with 1.3 billion records of data. Now, what I want to demonstrate is what the performance looks like when we're filtering or when we're adding and removing dimensions from stories. So here I'm selecting a particular value from this chart at the bottom left, and I'm just going to filter based off of this. So you can see the rendering from that filter came back quite quick. So there's not a lot of lag in terms of applying filters on the story in this case. Now, on top of that, filtering is one side of it. But what about adding and removing dimensions to charts? So at the bottom right here, I'm adding a dimension called inventory item SKU number. So the whole chart has to re-render. It's a fresh new aggregation that's happening on the fly. So you can see, again, the performance is really good there with that large data set with on-the-fly aggregation happening on the background. Another thing to understand here is as well, we often get asked, is there like a pre-caching process happening? You know, are they actually fresh queries happening each and every time I make a change? And yes, that is the case. They're brand new queries. As soon as I make a change to the chart, whether I'm filtering, adding or removing dimensions, they're all fresh, brand new queries that are sent back and forth to the data backend. So that's just a brief demonstration of how the performance is with Live Data Gateway.
So correct me, we are using SAC, SAP Analytics Cloud as front end, Snowflake database at the back end, and we were querying 1.3 billion records.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
That was quick.
There's three different networks happening there as well, if you think about it. SAP Analytics Cloud is stored on a HANA server in an SAP data center. The APOS servers on-premise in our environment, and then the Snowflake database is on a Snowflake data center. So we have three different points of network points that are happening there. So yeah, we got quite good performance out of that. But again, it's down to the data backend, right? We're just simply streaming queries back and forth.
Very interesting. I've also read somewhere that APOS communications, in some of your communications, right? So it says that live data gateway serves needs across SAP landscape. What does that mean? So
yeah,
everything and anything in SAP? What's going on? Explain.
Yeah. So that's an important point as well, because that also broadens the value of Live Data Gateway. The fact that we can expand our connectivity protocols to not only JDBC, but also ODBC, OData. So there's a lot of different connectivity options there, which allow us to expand the reach of not only the data sources, but the data consumers as well. So in addition to serving that, I want to talk a bit about a unified semantic layer. So a part of the Live Data Gateway, we have this concept of a universal semantic layer. So what that essentially allows you to do is decipher what tables and fields from the data backend you wish to use for measures and dimensions. So in SAC, the first thing you do is create a connection. So we've already talked about that. The next thing you do is build a model, and that model is where the stories are going to be based off of. So what happens with the APOS views within the unified semantic layer is that they get directly translated into SAC models. So all of the joins, the tables and fields that you're deciding what to use as a measure and dimension get populated as SAC models. But in the broader landscape, these views can be used across multiple tools. Not only SAC, but other BI and analytics tools can consume the same views within that universal semantic layer.
Mm.
Yeah, that OData consumption is a big deal because it means we can serve data to HANA, to Data Warehouse Cloud, to really anything that can consume from that. And the semantic layer that Alan was describing there serves all of them. It's the same semantic layer, so it opens up a lot. And even on the connection side, we're doing quite a bit of work there as well. So the OData, JDBC, ODBC, we think about that on the consumption side of what applications are consuming. But we have a new edition that's just been released fairly recently that is opening up connection to some SAP applications that are bringing premium data. So Ariba, being able to make a live connection to SAP Ariba data, to Fieldglass data, and very soon to SuccessFactors and Concur. So there's some pretty interesting things that are happening there. Some very good spend management capabilities that are coming through.
Okay, so you guys mentioned SAC and BO. So both of those areas. So is APOS only focusing on that? Can you give us some more background on what you guys have been doing over the years on this, and how has it progressed?
Yeah, we've kept our focus pretty clear on SAP BI and Analytics Solutions, and so that's meant a very good, strong depth and breadth to the solutions that we bring to market. So yes, both Business Objects and Analytics Cloud, and I think there's 6 different solutions for Business Objects and 4 different solutions for Analytics Cloud. And that's very strong focus in those 2 platforms.
Also explain to us the pull and push of data, whether do you guys pull the data all the time, or is it, you're doing both ways? How does that work?
Yeah, I'm glad you're bringing that up because it does tie into a solution that we have on both the Business Objects side and on the Analytics Cloud side. Different solutions, solution names and solution capabilities, but the same core themes, and that is our Publisher solution. So Publisher for Business Objects and Publisher for Cloud for Analytics Cloud solutions. So this is all around bursting and distribution of content out to end users. So the topic of push and pull really gets to the heart of what those solutions are about, where it's getting content pushed out to users as they need to receive it. Yep. So typically, Analytics Cloud is built to have users log into the system and make an online request to the system, and that's inherently how it's used for the most part. But there are always going to be scenarios where different kinds of user categories want content pushed to them, and so that's kind of the difference between push and pull, and it's one of those things where I guess the core theme with pushing content to users is we understand human nature and we understand users get very busy, so it's like we have to put content in their path and have the delivery process accommodate their needs rather than having their process accommodate the BI solutions needs. So it's really kind of putting it in a place where they can't avoid the information and it's very easy for them to access.
Now that reminds me good old days when I was running, as I said, analytics for a large retailer. Of course, there is a platform where you can go in, log in and check everything, but the senior leadership needed things to be pushed out to them. They needed the report to come to their desktop through email at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Monday, and that was non-negotiable. So you're right. There are different behaviors in an organization that needs to be served for. So some people like to get data pulled in, and some like it to be pushed on. Having said that, I personally feel that people should actually go into a system and just log in and get the results or get the reports checked in. If you look at the alerting mechanisms, do you work in that area as well to provide alerts, not pushing the report as it is, but providing specific alerts for a particular activities that have happened or particular scenario that has been generated?
Yeah, some of what we do in our bursting capabilities, and Alan, it'd probably be good if you could speak a little bit about the bursting capabilities, but that does involve bursting and distribution based on conditions, like data value conditions. So yeah, that's definitely important. It gets to the whole topic of when should content be pushed to a user, whether that's, as you mentioned, senior leadership meeting content at 7 a.m. and that's non-negotiable, or is it based on a business condition of inventory hitting a low or costs hitting a high, and content has to be distributed at those points in time. So we can do it both as a report being pushed out, but we also have the capability to send out a notification.
So that notification is interesting, but then you send out a link to say log into that particular environment and check the report, which means that you're still asking the individual to access the environment. That could be done as well, right?
Yeah, so with the conditional bursting and any of our bursting definitions, really, specifically with conditional bursting, I just want to take a step back. So let's look at the dashboard or API. And
give me a minute. You've used these terms, bursting and distribution. From where I come from, these terms we have not heard. So explain what is bursting and what is distribution for the audience.
Not a problem, not a problem. So scheduling is typically, and especially for customers who are using business objects today, you log into business objects, you create a schedule, and you set the parameters and the rules of that schedule so that it's getting sent out to you or whoever needs it. And in business objects, sometimes those schedules can ramp up. You have a lot of schedules generating a lot of instances. So it's typically a user-based tool. So with bursting and distribution, think about it as like a workflow or a process control that allows us to be able to push content out to users so that they don't have to go and search for it. We're simply putting it in a place where they want it, in a format that they need, and filtered the way they wanted it to. And it's done in an automated fashion and dynamically as well. So with bursting, it's less manual work on the user, and it's more automation controls in place on the application.
Okay, so that's bursting and distribution as you go. And sorry, I just lost my train of thought. When we're looking at bursting as it is, or distribution as it is there separate way of managing it, or is that done in the same environment at the same time? How is it managed?
Yeah, so it's all centrally managed. So there's very little overhead on different users and teams to have to work on this. It's all centrally managed, and when it's up and running, it's all fully automated and dynamic. So what we're able to do is, for example, we can take Analytics Cloud stories and push it out to different destinations like email, FTP, network file share location, different email addresses as well, internal and external to SAC. We can also put it in different content types like PDF or Excel files or PowerPoint presentations. We can extract raw data. We can decide what images or tables are getting placed in what PowerPoint presentation slides. So it's quite flexible from that perspective. So that's some of the core capability of the Publisher for Cloud solution we have. Now, in terms of extended capabilities, Alan mentioned conditional bursting. So let's take a dashboard that we have in Analytics Cloud. And let's say it's a sales dashboard, just as an example. And we have gross sales revenue per city per year. And we want to look at a specific KPI because it's quite critical to the business. We want to be able to monitor that because it fluctuates quite regularly. Whether we have a live or an import connection, the values may change and fluctuate quite regularly. We want to keep an eye on that somehow so that when it goes above or below a certain threshold, we can not only send an alert, we can send emails out to many users to let them know that this KPI has changed on this dashboard, but we can trigger the automation of a burst as well, so we can push the content. Now as an end user, I've received that content, and if it's something that concerns me, I want to analyze that a bit further. What we can do is provide an image in the body of the email, so I can visually see it in the body of the email, but hyperlink that image. So when I click on it, it brings me directly back to SAC, back to that story, and back to that page of that story. So as much as we can push content in an automated fashion, we can also pull users back in an automated fashion as well.
That is absolutely interesting. But to do automation, is that a very complex process? That's the first question. But the second question I have for you is, the smart insight aspect of SAC, does that trigger an automation as well, or it's only at the back end that the automation is being set up?
Yeah, so to answer your first question, there is initial configuration that needs to be done. As mentioned, we can set up these, what we call bursting definition.
Mm-hmm.
So we can think of a bursting definition like a schedule, except rather than many, there's very little. You could have one single bursting definition bursting to multiple destinations and formats and users, filtered differently for many users in a single burst. So the initial configuration of that needs to happen, but once it's done, it's automated from there on. The only thing that you would need to maintain moving forward is things like distribution lists. If I have a new user to my organization, I need to get them a copy of this SAC story, and we're sending that out on a daily or weekly basis. I just need to add that user to the recipient list.
Mm-hmm.
To get the second part of your question, Search to Insight is a great feature in SAC. Very, very useful. However, what we're monitoring is the data backend, so not so much the platform itself.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take a scenario that we looked at that sales story with that KPI on the dashboard. Regardless of whether it's live or acquired connection, that data is coming from somewhere, typically a database or an application. So it's at that level that we're doing the monitoring. So as soon as it happens on the database, we can trigger that alert and that burst.
Interesting. That looks absolutely smashing, because some of these things, once upon a time I wanted, now you guys have it, which is interesting. So how are some of your customers using Publisher for Cloud to meet their business requirements? How's that happening?
So there's quite a number of scenarios I could mention. I think probably a good thing to mention here is, what are some of the consistent reasons that we see organizations needing this sort of push? Now, you mentioned executives, and that's a very common need just because that's in their habit, that's their set of expectations. Sales teams, that's very important, where it's a sales team of 100, 200, how many ever people it is, they all need the same report, but it needs to be filtered and sent to each one of them individually, so it's personalized. That's a good example. Maybe it's a store location or set of store locations, so the manager at each store needs to receive their own cost control report or their own revenue report from yesterday. Those are the kinds of examples. Excuse me. One of our customers is called Precision Drilling, and they're an oil rig and refinery and drilling company. They're using Publisher for Cloud to get content pushed out to their oil rig managers, their drilling rig managers, on a daily basis with cost control information. Now, at play here is the fact that this is a management level operator who probably has that set of expectations of having content pushed to them. These are remote locations, so they may have, and I believe they have connectivity challenges or consistent connectivity challenges that are at play here. And so, we've got a few different factors at work here, but the bottom line is this is getting daily, regular, consistent cost control information about previous day costs that's helping those managers, rig managers, to be able to manage that next day's cost based on yesterday's performance. So that's a good example. The list goes on into very different ones. We do have a few different customers in drilling, and it ranges across every industry. These themes that we're seeing they're not specific to any particular industry, and we see it happening across.
So do you work in any specific industry? Any specific industry is your favorite, or anything, anywhere you work more than anywhere you work less, or you work across all industries? How's that?
Yeah, we apply really wherever Analytics Cloud applies.
Okay.
And of course, that's everywhere. And so really the consistent themes here are Analytics Cloud, and for Live Data Gateway, non-SAP data. So that's everywhere. And Analytics Cloud and the need for having content pushed to specific end recipients for Publisher for Cloud. Well, again, that's every industry, that's everywhere. So we have a good fit in all of those. And I don't think we could point to any specific industry that's a standout one over the other. In the business objects world, in our solutions there, we've had lots of good success in healthcare and finance. But even having said that, it applies to all industries.
Okay, let's move away from solution areas and talk about other things. But before that, guys, if you've got a question for Allan and Alan, please put that in the comment section, and I'll take that question in the audience Q&A. Also, please like and share this video with as many people as possible, so more and more people can learn from Allan and Alan. And I'm going to make it that ways, but Allan and Golding, of course. So let's move away from solution areas. Tell us about your go-to-market strategy, how you go to market, and how do you collaborate with SAP on a given day?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier a little bit about our selling processes and how we interact with customers, and we've been doing remote selling for a long time. So what that means is, because we do have a global customer base, we do a lot of direct selling in that regard, and have great, strong relationships with customers in all parts of the world. So it's limitless that way. So we work directly with customers. We also work with various partner organizations, and that includes reseller partners, and also into some OEM partnerships as well. And that continues to grow, particularly in live data connections and those sorts of things. So whether it's a reseller or an OEM or a system integrator, those are the kinds of organizations who are interested, because it helps them complete their solution offering. And we continue to build and are open to building our partner network even further. Now, with SAP, we, as you can imagine, we have very good, strong collaboration with SAP, and have for a very long time. And that includes both on the go-to-market in co-selling and working with joint customers, helping to complete the solution offering, because we do fit in some important areas, and so it's meant for a good complementary relationship and supporting each other in those regards. So that's been very positive. Beyond the selling, we also collaborate very closely with SAP, even in product management and product visioning. So that goes back into some great history into the business objects days, and that's continued into Analytics Cloud, where the two solutions that we focused on today, we've had great support in working with SAP product management in those regards. Probably the best example of the collaboration that we have with SAP goes back into the business objects days, where we had a joint customer opportunity that was requiring enhanced report distribution capabilities and governance over report distribution capabilities as well. And so we collaborated with SAP for one of our technologies that handles these distribution capabilities, and integrated the scheduling environment within business objects. So this particular customer wanted to establish so that all of these scheduling controls could be put in place directly within the scheduling interface within business objects. We work with the product team to do that, and to this day, it's still very well used by that customer and many others. Actually, the customer is in your neighborhood, Selendras, Harvey Norman, and yeah, great customer, great people, and so it's meant that when you have our technology in place, the scheduling interface within business objects changes to accommodate that. So it's a great integration story, and it's meant for some really good outcomes. So terrific relationship, and that just continues to grow and grow.
Great to know that you guys collaborate very strongly with SAP locally and even globally. And I'm pleased to know that you've done something for Harvey Norman. I buy all the products from Harvey Norman. I'm a long-standing customer of theirs. So yeah, great to know that. Okay, what are the other areas of work that you extend the reach and capabilities of SAC? Or is that, just go ahead and explain that.
Yeah, so I guess another area that would be worth to mention is our enhanced monitoring, automated report testing capabilities within Analytics Cloud. So that's our Insight for Cloud solution. And ultimately, what that allows customers to do is be able to monitor system performance, story performance for their Analytics Cloud environment. If they have just one tenant, multiple tenants across geolocations, we're able to monitor and audit the performance of stories and tenants throughout. We can also offer automated report testing as well. So if we're making development in stories, maybe we have a separate tenant for production, and we're developing these stories and then moving them in production. How can we guarantee that everything is the same? It's producing the right results across different tenants. So we can do automated report testing within Analytics Cloud as well. So, essentially, this allows customers to operate with, additional confidence and address any system governance issues or concerns they may have as they grow and as their SAC tenant becomes more complex with more connections, models, stories, and users. So, yeah, it definitely helps play a role in system governance in those areas.
Shalendra, one of the things that we're seeing is organizations, as they make this change from a business objects mindset to an analytics cloud mindset, is they're used to having the servers on premise at their control and a lot of direct access to that. Of course, one of the benefits of analytics cloud is that they don't have to manage those responsibilities anymore. But it also means when it comes time for things like quarterly upgrades, those kinds of things, that these same organizations don't have the same direct control. So when it comes to things like governance, there's a lot of faith, and it's well-placed faith, but for things like internal controls and governance around, hey, did this upgrade have any negative impact on any of my reports? Things like what Alan's mentioning about the automated report testing, that can be really helpful to give these organizations peace of mind and assurance around all of those things. The analytics solutions are critical. They drive business. They answer the key business questions that an organization needs to run. And so that confidence really means a lot.
No, I totally agree with you. And as data is lying in the cloud, the accessibility becomes easier, and also doing a lot of managing and manipulation of data in the cloud is easier because you can get access to information which is even outside of the environment very quickly and bring that in. And because it's in the cloud, you're utilizing the power of the cloud environment. It becomes quite easy to execute and create results. And as you said, if it is on-prem, it becomes difficult to create an alert on regular basis. But when it is in the cloud, alerts and notifications are very, very easy to create. And the bursting example perfectly works in there.
Yeah, lots of great upside to the cloud approach, and we have most definitely seen the momentum of Analytics Cloud grow dramatically, even through this challenging year. the amount of adoption has grown a lot. And as we think back into the last half of 2019, that for us, that's where we've seen a lot of growth in adoption of Analytics Cloud, and really its momentum. So we know that there's some strong days ahead for that, because it's really just getting started.
Good stuff. And I'm enjoying the fact that SSC has become so beautiful by the day, and the kind of results that we get from SSC, which is very quick. And as you just showed, Goldie, 1.3 billion rows, and the quickness of getting the result was amazing. And look at the beauty of it. It's beautiful, and it's so responsive. It's great. And I was really enjoying that particular demo, which was so quick to respond to that many records. Amazing.
Yeah, it's good to hear. Yeah, definitely performance is hugely important, and it's one of the main things that people ask about when they want to look at a demo or try out the solution within their environment. So we generally get quite good feedback on the performance of our solution.
Good stuff. That's all from me. I don't have any more questions, but let's see if there are any questions on the comment section so we can take. Guys, if you've got a question, please put that in the comment section and I'll take it. It doesn't look like any. No. They're all hellos. Let's say one hello from Poonam Sood. Hi everyone. Hi Poonam, how are you? Poonam is a regular. She's almost every show she's there. Thank you for joining us again, Poonam. There's one comment from 116, looks like. 1XIV, which looks like 116. So saying perplexing is the most important part of software. Long process to create simple thing, non-intuitive. Yep. Good one. Good comment. Anything else? Siddharth Monti was on my show yesterday, actually, and good to see you. All the best. Thank you, Siddharth. Yep, I think that's all. Not many questions today. Looks like people enjoyed the technical aspect of it and learned a few things. If you've got a question, guys, please reach out to me or directly reach out to Allan and Alan at APOS Systems, and they can help you answer those questions. Yep. Any comments you guys want to make, Alan and Goldie? I'll start with Alan.
No, I mean, first of all, just thanks for having us part of your presentation today, your session today. This is great. We certainly recognize the importance of building awareness. This is very helpful. Lots of organizations haven't heard about the things that we're doing, and so we appreciate the opportunity to expose it a little further, and appreciate your support and feedback. Welcome the opportunity to discuss with potential scenarios, potential partners. We're quite open to interacting on all these topics.
Good stuff. Goldie, you want to say something?
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate the invite. From my technical side, I guess it's always interesting to see what customers' challenges are and the different scenarios that get approached to us from our customers with Analytics Cloud. It's definitely growing as it already has been identified. So as it grows, like customers' needs are becoming more bigger and different. It's very interesting just to be involved in those conversations.
Good stuff. Yep. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much, and thank you for your time today.
Great. Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks. So, guys, that was Allan and Alan all the way from Toronto, APOS Systems, and I hope you guys learned a bit of a few things about live connection. It was a bit new topic for me, but I enjoyed it. It was good, and I'm so happy to see the speed at which the connections are now getting data, and I learned two terminologies, bursting and distribution, which is great. So guys, thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure having you guys on the show. If you've got any questions, please reach out to me directly, or reach out to Allan and Alan at APOS Systems, Allan Pym and Alan Golding, and they can answer your questions directly. Or I can direct you to those guys if you want. Thank you very much for your time today, and it was a pleasure having you on the show. If you're watching this on Twitter, please press the follow button. If you're watching this on LinkedIn, press the follow button. If you're watching this on YouTube, press the subscribe button and the bell icon. If you're watching this on Facebook, please share it and like it, and share it with other groups which are analytics and SAP focused, or analytics or SAP focused, so more people can learn from this episode. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for your time. Bye now.